I still remember the silence in the delivery room. It wasn't the kind of silence that came from joy or awe, it was the heavy, suffocating kind. The moment I saw the baby, something inside me just froze. My wife, Emily, had just given birth. The nurses were congratulating her, tears rolled down her cheeks, and she looked over at me, expecting something, anything. A smile. A nod. A signature. But I couldn't move. I'd been doing the math in my head for months. I wasn't the jealous type, not until a late-night text popped up on her phone, "Can't wait for our little one." She claimed it was a joke from a friend. I wanted to believe her. I really did. But something never added up. And now, staring down at a baby that looked nothing like me, the final piece of the puzzle locked into place. Emily looked at me, hopeful. "Aren't you going to sign the certificate?" I didn't answer. I just stood there, gripping the pen like it weighed 1,000 pounds. The nurse politely waited. The doctor tried not to stare. And Emily's expression slowly shifted, from joy, to confusion, to fear. I set the pen down. Then I whispered, "You know this isn't my child." Her eyes widened. Her lips trembled. What are you talking about?" I stepped back, my voice quiet but sharp. "You and I both know. And I'm not going to lie to the world about it." Without another word, I turned around and walked out of the room, leaving her, and the truth, behind me. The moment I stepped into the hallway, everything hit me at once. The weight of betrayal, the months of doubt, the gut feeling I tried to bury. It all surged like a tidal wave, and yet, I didn't cry. I didn't even shake. I just kept walking. I didn't stop until I was in the hospital parking lot, staring at my car, keys clenched in my hand. My phone buzzed. Emily. I ignored it. Another buzz. Then another. A voicemail. Then a text. "Please come back. We need to talk." We. Not I. Not you and me. We, as in her and the baby. The baby she had with someone else. I sat behind the wheel, gripping it so tightly my knuckles turned white. I couldn't drive. I couldn't think. The image of that newborn, so innocent, so unaware, burned into my mind. None of this was the child's fault. But that didn't make the betrayal any less real. I thought back to the months before the birth. The cold distance. The secret of late-night calls. The gaslighting. The guilt-tripping every time I asked questions. She made me feel like I was the problem. Now the truth was crying in a bassinet in a hospital room while the woman I married begged me to pretend. Suddenly, my phone rang again, but this time it wasn't her. It was Mark, my best friend. I answered. My voice cracked. "Hey. What happened?" he asked. "Emily called. She said you walked out." I sighed. "Because I know. The baby's not mine." There was a pause on the other end. "Long, too long." "You sure?" "Yeah," I said. "I'm sure." His next words made my blood run cold. "Then you should also know I think I know who the father is." "What do you mean?" I asked, sitting up straight in the driver's seat. My chest tightened. Mark hesitated. I didn't want to say anything without proof. "But if you're already this far into it, just tell me," I said, barely above a whisper. He took a deep breath. "I think it's Jason." My heart stopped. Jason, my coworker, my so-called friend, the guy who had been over at our house for game nights, barbecues, and even helped paint the nursery. Jason, who always had that extra joke, that side glance at Emily when he thought I wasn't looking. No. No way. I tried to deny it, but the flashbacks hit fast. That time I came home early and found them laughing in the kitchen a little too closely. The work emergency she said she had on a Saturday, while Jason and I were both supposedly on leave. Mark continued, I wasn't sure, but a few weeks ago I saw them talking at a coffee shop. Just the two of them. And it didn't look like small talk. When she saw me, she panicked and left. I gripped the phone tighter. Why didn't you tell me earlier? Because you were expecting a baby. I didn't want to blow things up unless I was sure. But now. I think you deserve to know everything. I didn't even realize I was shaking. Jason. Of all people. I'm going to find out the truth, I muttered. You sure you want to do that? Mark asked. Yes, I said, coldly. And if he really is the father, he can sign the damn certificate. I didn't go home. I didn't even go back to the hospital. I drove straight to Jason's condo. The whole ride there, my hands were fists on the wheel. Not out of rage, yet, but out of disbelief. I kept telling myself there had to be another explanation. Maybe Mark was wrong. Maybe I was spiraling. Maybe Emily's betrayal didn't go that deep. But when I pulled into Jason's parking lot and saw his truck there, the one he'd bragged about fixing up with Emily's recommendations, something in me snapped. I walked up and rang the buzzer. No answer. I rang again. Louder. Still nothing. Then the door opened. Jason stood there, towel around his neck, t-shirt half damp, as if he'd just come out of the gym, or maybe just the shower. He looked surprised, but not scared. Just, awkward. Hey, man, he said, rubbing the back of his neck. Everything okay? Heard Emily had the baby, congrats. His voice was casual. Too casual. She did, I said, voice sharp as glass. And guess what? The baby doesn't look a thing like me. His smile faltered. And I'm not signing the birth certificate, I continued. But maybe you should. His eyes widened. Wait, what are you talking about? You tell me, Jason. How long has this been going on? Behind my back. While I trusted you. While I called you family. He stepped back, suddenly nervous. Whoa, man, you're coming at me like don't lie to me. I snapped, stepping inside before he could shut the door. Mark saw you too. At the coffee shop. She panicked when she saw him. You remember that? Jason's face turned pale. He didn't say a word. He didn't have to. Silence was the loudest confession of all. Jason backed into his living room like a man cornered, his hands slightly raised, not in fear, but in guilt. His usual smugness was gone. For once, he had nothing slick to say. I should have told you, he muttered. I stared at him. So it's true. He nodded slowly. It happened one night. You were out of town for work. She said you two had been fighting. That she felt lonely. I clenched my jaw so hard I thought I might crack a tooth. One night. He hesitated again. At first. My stomach turned. So this wasn't a mistake. It was a full-blown affair. Jason lowered his head, voice cracking. It wasn't supposed to get this far. I laughed bitterly. Not supposed to. You slept with my wife. She carried your child. You both lied to my face for months. I didn't even know she kept the baby, he blurted. She stopped answering my texts when she found out she was pregnant. Said it was yours and wanted to fix things with you. The rage that had been simmering inside me boiled over into something colder, resolve. I turned toward the door. You're going to tell her I know everything, I said, not even looking at him. What? You're going to be the one to admit this. You owe me that. You owe her that. And that child? He deserves the truth. Jason sat down on the edge of his couch, stunned. I didn't give him time to protest. I walked out. This wasn't over, not even close. But now, I wasn't just a betrayed husband. I was a man with the truth on his side. By the time I got home, my phone had blown up with missed calls and texts, from Emily, her mom, even a few mutual friends who clearly hadn't heard my side of the story yet. Why would you walk out on your own child? She just gave birth and you're acting like this? You're being selfish. I didn't reply to any of them. The truth would come out soon enough. Inside the house, everything looked exactly the same, her slippers near the couch, the half-finished baby room we painted together, the unopened bottle of wine we were saving for after. It all felt like a museum of lies. Then I heard the key in the door. Emily stepped in, still in her hospital gown under a long coat, her face pale and blotchy from crying. She froze when she saw me. You came home, she whispered. I needed answers, I said. She stepped forward slowly. Can we talk? Please. I know you're angry but, I went to Jason's. The color drained from her face. I know everything. Tears welled in her eyes instantly. It wasn't what you think, it was exactly what I think, I said coldly. And you were going to let me raise his child. You were going to lie to me for the rest of our lives. Her lips trembled. I didn't know what to do. I panicked. I thought if I just held on to you long enough, maybe I could pretend. I interrupted. You wanted me to pretend I was the father. You were going to put my name on that certificate and trap me with a life that wasn't even mine. She started crying harder now, but I didn't feel sympathy. Not this time. You don't have to do anything now, I said quietly. I'm done pretending. And so is Jason. Her head jerked up. Wait. Jason? Yeah, I said. Your secret's out. And he's going to help you explain it. I'm not carrying this weight anymore. Emily stood there, stunned. Her breath hitched as the full weight of what I'd said settled in. You talked to him? She asked, her voice barely holding together. I did more than talk, I replied. I gave him a choice, come clean to you or I expose everything myself. He chose to admit it. She sank onto the couch, clutching her head. I never wanted it to go this far, too late for that, I said flatly. There was a long silence. Then she looked up, eyes swollen with tears, but her voice suddenly desperate. But what about us? What about everything we've built together? We can still get past this if, no, I said firmly. There's no us anymore. You killed that the moment you looked me in the eye and tried to make me the father of someone else's child. She stood up quickly, reaching for my arm. I made a mistake, you made a choice, I snapped. You had months to tell me the truth. You waited until it was too late. And now you want forgiveness just because you got caught. Her grip on my arm loosened. You don't understand how scared I was, she whispered. He didn't want the baby. He told me to handle it. You were the only one I trusted to love it like your own. That's not trust, I replied coldly. That's manipulation. She collapsed back onto the couch, sobbing harder now. So what happens now? I stepped toward the door. Now. You raise your child, with the real father. And you both live with the truth you tried to hide. She looked up at me one last time, shattered. You're really walking away? I already did, I said quietly. Back at the hospital. And I walked out again, but this time, I didn't look back. That I didn't go to a hotel. I went to Mark's place. He had already cleared the guest room by the time I showed up. Said nothing, just handed me a cold drink and let me sit in silence. The next morning, everything felt numb. Like I had walked out of one life and into another. A life without lies, but also without the woman I once loved. I scrolled through my phone. Dozens of messages. Emily, please just talk to me. I'll do anything to fix this. You're the only one who's ever cared about me. He's not going to be a father. He doesn't want this. That last one stung more than I expected. Jason. Of course he bailed. He was the kind of guy who could cheat behind a friend's back, but the idea of taking responsibility? That was never his style. But it wasn't my problem anymore. Then my phone rang. It wasn't Emily this time. It was her mother. I hesitated, then answered. Hello. Her voice was sharp. Cold. What's this nonsense about you leaving the baby? Emily's devastated. I'm not the father, I said bluntly. Silence. Then, that's ridiculous. You were there the whole time. You supported her, went to every appointment, because I thought the child was mine, I interrupted. Until I found out the truth. Jason is the father. Ask your daughter. The line went dead. 10 minutes later, Emily's name popped up again. This time with one word. How could you tell my mother? I didn't reply. If she wanted to live in denial, that was on her. But I wasn't going to carry her shame any longer. By the end of the week, the truth had spread. Emily's mom called everyone in the family, trying to twist the story, saying I abandoned her daughter and refused to take responsibility. But the thing about lies? They collapse under the weight of facts. I let the truth speak for itself. When mutual friends started calling, I didn't defend myself, I forwarded them the texts. The ones from Jason. The timeline. The photo Mark snapped at the coffee shop months ago. Screenshots don't lie. Suddenly, the sympathy Emily had tried to collect dried up. Her support system crumbled just like her cover story. And Jason? He vanished. Quit his job, wiped his socials, disappeared like the coward he was. Last I heard, he packed up and moved to another state. Guess he couldn't handle the shame of being exposed. Meanwhile, I was rebuilding. Quietly. On my own terms. I started going to therapy, not because I was broken, but because I didn't want to carry the bitterness. I didn't want this betrayal to shape who I became. One evening, Mark and I sat outside his place, drinking beers in silence. You handled it better than I would've, he finally said. I smirked. You didn't see me at 3 a.m. yelling into a pillow. He laughed. Then he said something I wasn't expecting. You ever think about what would have happened if she told the truth from the beginning? I nodded. Yeah. A lot. Would you have stayed? I looked out at the horizon for a long moment before answering. No. But I would have respected her honesty. Now. She lost everything. And it was her choice. 2 months passed. I moved out of Mark's place, signed a lease on a quiet apartment across town, and started piecing together my new life, one that didn't revolve around lies or pretending to be someone's father. Then, one Saturday morning, there was a knock at my door. I opened it and froze. Emily. She looked thinner. Exhausted. Holding a baby carrier with shaking hands. I'm not here to fight, she said quietly. I just need to talk. I stepped aside and let her in, mostly out of curiosity. She set the carrier down gently, revealing the baby. A little boy. Peacefully asleep. I didn't say anything. I didn't even look her in the eye. I wanted you to see him, she whispered. Because I know. I know he'll grow up never knowing you. And that's my fault. I stayed silent. She sat across from me. Jason's gone. Disappeared the moment I told him he was the father. He wanted nothing to do with us. Said I should have kept it quiet. I clenched my jaw. That sounded like him. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, she continued, tears welling. But I needed you to know, I never stopped loving you. I was stupid. I was selfish. And I ruined everything. Finally, I looked at her. You didn't just ruin a marriage, Emily. You stole my trust. You tried to give me a life that was never mine to live. She nodded slowly. I know. We sat in silence for a moment, both of us staring at the baby. He stirred slightly, his tiny fingers curling in a dream. I didn't come to ask you to come back, she said, wiping her eyes. I just wanted you to see him once. And maybe, say goodbye the right way. I stood up, walked over to the carrier, and looked down at the child for the first time since that hospital room. And then I said it. Goodbye. Emily stood silently, eyes on me as I looked down at the baby one last time. His tiny chest rose and fell, unaware of the storm he'd been born into. You deserve better than lies, I whispered, not to her, but to him. Then I stepped back. I won't be part of his life, I said gently. Not because of him, but because it's not my place. He needs to grow up with truth. You owe him that much. She nodded slowly, holding back sobs. I do. I hope you give him what I never got from you, honesty. She wiped her face with a tissue, her voice cracking. I will. I swear it. I opened the door. She lifted the carrier, paused for a moment as if hoping I'd change my mind, then walked through. Take care of yourself, Emily. She turned back one last time. You were the best thing that ever happened to me. I just didn't realize it until I lost you. I didn't reply. Some words are meant to hang in the air and disappear. When the door closed behind her, the silence that followed didn't feel empty. It felt peaceful. I exhaled for what felt like the first time in months. No more lies. No more pretending. It was over. Weeks passed. Then months. People moved on. The gossip faded. Emily disappeared from my life entirely, no more texts, no more desperate calls. I heard through the grapevine that she moved back in with her parents. Maybe it was to start over. Maybe it was to hide. I didn't care anymore. What mattered was that I finally had peace. I dove into my work. Traveled. Took up hobbies I'd put off for years, photography, hiking, even joined a boxing gym. I reclaimed my time. My identity. My future. One afternoon, while sitting on a bench overlooking the lake, Mark joined me. Never thought I'd see you this calm, he said with a grin. That makes two of us, I replied, sipping my coffee. He nudged me. Still think about her? Sometimes, I admitted. But not the way I used to. Regret anything? I shook my head. No. I gave her everything I had. Loyalty, love, trust. She threw it away. I don't regret walking away, I'm proud of it. Mark raised his cup. To dodging a lifetime of lies. I clinked mine against his. And to starting over. As the sun set behind the trees, I realized something powerful. I didn't need revenge. I didn't need to prove anything. The best closure wasn't getting even. It was getting free.